Welcome to the Wareham Conservation Commission meeting of November 6, 2019. Mr. Baptiste, the roll call, please.
Okay, members present. Elisa Hurd. Mary Taggart. Okay, I'll be all right. Myself, Kenneth Baptiste. Rob.
Rob.
Yeah, Rob Lassen. Jim Smith. Yeah, okay, I'm having a bad day. And Chair Sandy Slavin and the agent David Pichette.
Thank you. We have continued public hearings. The Buzzards Bay Coalition has requested a continuance until November 20. I need a motion. I have a motion.
Second.
I heard a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Continued until November 20th. Those are for the floats off of Onset Bay. Next one is Scott
Bagden.
I've never gotten that one right. Please come forward and identify yourself.
See them all.
Good evening, Brian Grady with GAF Engineering.
Wallace Fergon. John Wolosowski, 4 Preservation Lane.
Thank you. New plans? New plans. Okay, Mr. Bichette, we'll read to the project.
Okay, so the project site is at lot 1000A off of Preservation Lane and Cremisa Road, and the project involves expanding an existing pier by adding additional floats and float piles to an existing structure within land under the ocean, land containing shellfish, and land within a coastal flood zone. The site is also within the estimated habitat of rare and endangered species. So the existing pier, which is a common pier utilized by several homeowners within the Homeowners Association, was permitted originally as a dinghy dock. There were conditions at the time of approval that the pier was to not have vessels moored to it. This proposal seeks to add some additional floats to the structure to create slips to allow boats to be moored to the structure on a regular basis. At a previous meeting, there was a request for an eelgrass survey to be done. That was done, and it was found that there is eelgrass in close proximity to where this proposed expansion is proposed. We have a revised plan that's been submitted tonight that we're looking at that has that line where the eelgrass is now shown on it. So in terms of the wetland bylaw, it clearly states that no new structures should be constructed within 50 feet of eelgrass beds. So given that information, my recommendation has to be not to approve the project based on that part of the bylaw, which seeks not to have any new work or expansions done within that distance of the eelgrass. So those are the comments that I have on it. The float system does also exceed the town's bylaw regarding the amount of square footage. That issue was discussed previously, that this was a common pier utilized by several owners, so that was sort of an issue the commission was going to decide upon. But based on the eelgrass information, I have to make the recommendation that I've made based on the bylaw that we have.
Thank you. Comments, please.
Well, the plan you have before you tonight is what was discussed at the last hearing. We talked about plotting the eelgrass as shown by Brad Holmes in his underwater survey. We discussed extending the gangway another 5 feet, making it a 30-foot gangway to try to push those floats out. Because if you see the plan and you look at Brad's report, the eelgrass is on the inland side of the floats. Beyond that, you'll also see that the water depth increases pretty dramatically. So the thought was that, beyond that point, there's no eelgrass due to the water depth, the turbidity. Brad mentions in his report that, beyond a certain depth, the water did get quite turbid. So the plan you have before you, I believe, is what we discussed at the last meeting with those revisions, and there's also been a commitment from the association members to remove the moorings that they have, because they'll no longer need them with the slips that this will provide.
Thank you. So we're looking at two issues. One, that the docks are within the 50-foot of the existing eelgrass. What I'm hearing is that there's no eelgrass growing further out into the river because there just isn't a place for it to grow. It just won't grow there. So the 50-foot is not relative here?
Well, it applies. We're within 50 feet of eelgrass, but...
But there's no chance of the eelgrass growing where you want to put the docks. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, the conditions get less conducive as we get further out into the river due to the depth, due to the turbidity, and the velocity of the water. So there's going to be activities there. There currently is an existing condition there that will continue. We're looking to push it out a little bit further, so we're really not increasing the activity at the site. We're going from moorings to slips, but the activity at the site is not going to get any closer to the eelgrass that's present.
And the second point was that the size of the dock exceeds our bylaws for square footage, and you're saying because you got more than one boat on it,
More than one
that should be
family.
fine, right?
More than one family.
More than one
Outside
family.
Boat, because,
Yeah, more than one family, therefore we should waiver the issue over the size of the docks exceeding our
Right, there's 6
bylaws.
members
So I'm
of
hearing,
these.
I'm
correct.
hearing those are the two issues I'm hearing from the agent, and I believe those are the two explanations you're giving us as to why we should
Right,
waiver.
It's an association, there's 6 members.
Yep,
So if you break it down, it's 75 square foot per member.
Sandy, was there also something where it was originally approved as a dinghy dock forever?
I believe that was the case, correct? When it was first conditioned, it was for dinghy dock and only a dinghy dock.
Right.
So there's 3 conditions that we have to consider. Do we, questions?
No. Not really. Nope.
Is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak for or against this project?
Tough part.
Do you feel comfortable closing the hearing?
Yep.
Any questions for anybody? You seem to be hesitant.
I am. I don't know how to think on this. I think it's great to have more than one family on a dock. I think that's something that we've been trying to do more of. But I also know that we're trying to stay within the bylaws and within the passage of what was passed before. It's sort of when people put on a deck and then they want to add on a room above the deck too. I mean, it was, I mean, I'd like to say, gee, do it, but now what precedent are we setting? I'm asking that.
Okay.
Can I say something to that
Yes, please.
third issue too? That I know it was raised, that I think it was, to everybody's best recollection, back at the beginning, that it was approved only as a dinghy dock forever. But when we went back and tried to research and find the meeting minutes of that meeting, we couldn't find any mention of that. So I don't know if that was really the intent of it.
And I guess I would add to that, I don't believe that the orders of conditions that were published at that time just indicated that it would be a dinghy dock in perpetuity. So I think we looked at that early on in the discussion. And I guess to talk to the other point, we've now had about 17 years' experience in that location. And, what seemed to make sense back 17 years ago with the initial filing. Now, with 6 people commenting and going back and forth, that was what precipitated our interest in expanding from there.
Okay. Dave has just given me as the order of conditions that were published. Where's the date? October 13th, 2004. Number 21, the pier shall be used as a dinghy dock only and is not to have vessels moored on it on a continuing basis. That was number 21 in your order of conditions from 2004.
It definitely was
Correct.
included in the order of conditions,
Yes.
but I was speaking only to the point that it was that forever, that the conditions wouldn't change over time, and we could,
Okay,
Yeah, that's a condition established by you
yes, yep,
and your commission, and it's subject to
Okay.
change with application and additional
Right.
permitting from this body.
is there anything else? No one wants to speak for or against it in the audience, so I'll take a motion to close the hearing if you're comfortable with it.
So moved.
I have a motion to close the hearing.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. The hearing is closed. Now, members, you have to make your... What are we going to do?
Motion to deny on the recommendation of the agent.
I have a motion to deny. I have a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained. That's, we are going with Mr. Bouchette's recommendation and deny the project.
Thank you.
Okay. And can you describe to us our recourse at this point?
Make an appeal.
You can make an appeal. Mr.,
DEP, right?
let him, talk to them. Tell him.
I believe, David, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that you have the right to appeal to DEP for no superseding order.
And under the bylaw would be an appeal through the court,
Through the, I'm sorry, David. did
through
you-
the Superior Court.
Okay,
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
Next hearing was the Homestead Realty Trust asked for a continuation until November 20. I need a motion.
Thank you.
I have a motion. I have a second. The hearing for Homestead Realty has been continued until November 20th. Okay. You want this paperwork? Okay. Next hearing is, continued hearing is Troy Larson and Timothy Stedman. Come forward and identify yourselves, please.
Troy Larson.
Madam Chairman, Bob Rogers with GAF, representing Mr. Larson tonight. We had revised plans. Unfortunately, we were just able to deliver them to the office earlier today, so we revised our plans based on the discussion at the first public hearing. And, I did have a chance, I think last week, to send David a draft of the revised plan to look at. The changes to the plan were a shifting of the roof infiltration unit so that there would be no more clearing,
We'll share.
and a notation to remove footing for the concrete patio. And we pulled back the paver stone patio to align with the end of the vinyl fence. So we've noted that the patio would be 24-foot maximum. And we had a notation also to have the agent approve any native species that would be planted along the edge of.
Okay.
So,
This is the original, that's the revised? This, the original?
Yeah, so
I
we
have-
did get the revised plan.
yes, yeah, I had sent you a highlighted version on a PDF, but then, yeah, because we left it with Sonia and I
Right.
left you a voicemail.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is the 11-6 plan. Okay, so Mr. Bichette will speak to the project, then we'll look at the changes.
Thank you.
Okay, so this site is at 20 13th Ave in the Weeannick Shores area, and this filing was filed in response to an enforcement order that was issued for some unpermitted work that was going on at the site that involved the removal of an existing concrete patio and the installation of a new paver patio, and also some concrete block planters along the top of the coastal bank and within the coastal flood zone. The concrete patio was removed and a new patio was being installed. At the last meeting, we had discussed the issue of the dry well or the infiltration structure to handle the roof runoff, and asked that that be located further away from the wetland area. The revised plan does reflect that change. The plan also indicates that the concrete block planters that were put in are to be removed, and the area that was disturbed is to be pulled back to that area that now is represented as the proposed patio area, which was more in line with the original footprint. So given that change and the relocation of the infiltration structure, I would recommend the approval of the project based on the revised plan, with the condition as mentioned about having the applicant review the plantings with myself before those are put in, so that we know that those are going to be appropriate for the area. And also the recommendation of no further expansion beyond that footprint that is approved on the plan.
Thank you. So, all done, right? All reflected in the current plan?
Yes, that's correct.
Any questions on the board?
No.
No, just refresh my memory, this was done without a permit, and we're going back.
Done without a permit, so this is after the fact. Have we fined them yet?
No.
Okay.
I think you can discuss that.
Okay, so,
That was my question.
yes,
just
I'm
kinda
sure
recouping. I
Kenny
remember the
will make
pictures.
sure there's a fine added to the motion, okay? Yeah. Anybody in the audience would like to speak for or against this project? I'm seeing none. If there's no questions, I need to have the hearing closed.
Motion
moved.
closed. Okay.
I
Second.
have a motion, I have a second, the hearing is closed. Okay, what
Move
do
to
we,
accept, but is this a negative?
sorry?
Would this have to be a -3 on this?
No, it's an NOI.
So we have an order of conditions with a stipulation that no further expansion,
In perpetuity?
that all planting, plant material is to be reviewed before planting begins. Was there any other conditions?
No, that was it.
So that
And the
was the,
regular conditions of,
and the regular order of conditions.
To what
Plus-
to what extent was the work done?
You mean how far along did they get? They had gotten to the point of the removal of the original, a good chunk of the new patio, and the construction of some concrete planters that had a concrete footing and so forth. So that's all now part of what's going to have to be removed.
Okay.
Okay, so I have a motion, and
and,
I have a motion,
and that a fine will be apprised.
and the fine will be how much?
Fine will be $200.
A $200 fine?
Giving you a break.
That's the motion.
So-
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
No
Thank
more
you.
work is done until you get the documentation from Mr. Bichette, and he approves your planting. And no more wetland violations.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. It is now after 7:15, so we will go to our first public hearing.
Notice of public hearings pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetland Protected Bylaw, Division 6. A public hearing will be held in room 320, Wareham Multi-Service Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass., on Wednesday, November 6, 2019, at 7:15 p.m. on the request for determination of applicability for Church in the Pines, care of GAF Engineering, Inc., 266 Main Street, Wareham, Mass. 02571, to replace an existing septic system with a new Title V septic system located on Assessor's Map 100, lots 21A, 1005, 1006, 1051, 17 Carver Road, Wareham, Mass.
Please identify yourselves.
Chair, for the record, I'm Bob Rogers with GAF Engineering, representing Church in the Pines this evening.
And I see the green cards next to me, so we're set for that. And so Mr. Burchett will speak to the project.
This project site is at 17 Carver Road, which is the site of the Church in the Pines. This project involves upgrading a septic system in the buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetland. An existing septic system is to be upgraded to a new Title V septic system. The septic tanks and the piping would be the only work within the buffer zone to the wetland, which in this would be approximately 77 feet from the wetland. The new leach field would be over 150 feet from the wetland. There's no grade changes proposed, and there will be some erosion control placed between the work and the resource area. So I would recommend the approval of the project with a negative determination number 3.
Any comments on it, please?
Nope, that's fine, Madam Chair. So obviously, it's a beneficial, project, getting them a new septic system instead of those cesspools.
Had any consideration been made to this new layering ones that the Buzzards Bay Coalition seems to be pushing? Not yet?
Yeah, in this case, I don't know. I mean, it is a chamber system, but it's concrete chambers because we're partially under the paved parking lot. So I don't know.
And this one is going to have a force main too, right? This plan. So I'm not sure how that would work with the other setup.
Okay.
But
right. I mean, one of the biggest benefits is the addition of the grease trap, and then a full-size tank, and then the pump chamber. So it's all good.
Questions on the board?
Nope.
Nope.
Anybody in the audience would like to speak for or against this project? I'm seeing none.
Motion to close?
I have a motion to close. I heard a second. All in favor?
Aye.
I opposed, abstain. The hearing is closed.
Motion for a negative 3?
I have a motion for a negative 3.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain. No work until you get your paperwork from Dave. Thank you.
Thank you.
Notice of public hearing pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetland Protected Bylaw, Division 6. The public hearing will be held in room 320, Wareham Multi-Service Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass., on Wednesday, November 6, 2019, at 7:15 p.m. on the notice of intent for Sean Lapworth, care of Schneider, Davignon, and Leone, Inc., P.O. Box 480, 1 County Road, Mattapoisett, Mass. 0302739, for a proposed house reconstruction and septic tank upgrade located on Assessor's Map 18, lots 1019 and 1020, 8 Arlington Road, Wareham, Massachusetts.
Thank you. Please identify yourself for the record.
Good evening. My name is Doug Schneider, consulting engineer, here on behalf of the applicant.
Thank you. Mr. Burchett will read to the project.
this project site is at 8 Arlington Road, which is in the Agawam Beach area. And this project involves tearing down an existing dwelling and constructing a new dwelling in the same general location, and also adding an attached breezeway and garage, new deck, new septic system, and driveway in the buffer zone to a coastal bank. The existing 24 by 44 foot house is to be removed, and a new 24 by 44-foot house constructed in the same general location with an attached breezeway and a 24 by 26-foot garage. The new dwelling would be approximately 47 feet from the top of the coastal bank. And the coastal bank in this case is the flood zone line, which is elevation 14 on the plan. A new septic system would be installed, and this would be outside the buffer zone. The driveway would remain as a gravel driveway, with the exception of a concrete or paved pad that would be right out in front of the new garage, and that's indicated on the plan. There would be some grade changes around the proposed structure, as shown. The deck on the new dwelling would be expanded considerably from what the existing deck is, and part of the new deck would be converted into a covered porch, but all of this work is still outside the 30-foot no-activity zone. The work area generally is the existing house footprint or existing yard area. Hay bales and silt fence would be installed between the work and the resource area. We do have a DEP file number for the project, so I would recommend the approval of the project with the standard conditions for this work. And the added condition that if any proposed changes for the driveway are contemplated, that would have to come back before the commission to review.
Anything you'd like to add?
The only thing that David didn't mention is we're also putting in an alternative septic treatment system, denitrification system in with to replace the existing septic tank.
Has that been approved by Board of Health?
It has, I believe that I'm not sure if they've approved it, but there's no issues with it that we've been made aware of from the board.
Okay. I should have asked that for the Church of Pines, too, but I didn't. Any driveway changes need to be...
I did hear from the Board of Health on the 8 Arlington, and he did not have an issue with the septic.
Okay. Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to speak for or against this project? Any questions on the board?
No, just the placement of the house seemed a little random. Is it the same footprint?
It's
or-
pretty much in the same location as the...
Okay.
It's kind of hatched out. It's hard to tell the difference because it's almost in the same exact
Okay.
location.
So this is not, obviously not an as-built, but it's hoping, the as-built is supposed to look like this.
With the breezeway and garage added
Right.
onto it, yeah.
Right, okay.
And the deck's much bigger, as you can
You see it?
Right.
Oh, breezeway to, David, where's the breezeway to the? Oh. No, here's the breezeway.
I've got a colorized version that might help a little bit
Yeah,
in that,
let's see that.
if I could.
Breezeway.
Yeah. Show Alyssa.
You see the outline in orange is the existing house.
Okay,
And then the yellow would be the addition of the garage and the breezeway coming out here. So we're actually removing a small portion of the house here. And then this would be the new deck.
and the deck isn't there now.
Right. But you see what is in orange is what's.
No, there is a deck
there's
there.
a deck there,
Right,
but it's small.
but it's much smaller. So you're going from up to a 20 by 48, did you say, foot house footprint? How, it's coming from?
Virtually the same width of the house right
Yeah,
now. And virtually the same depth.
to there, but then, but add the porch
But
to your
adding the
new
porch
one
in the back,
will
yes.
give you how much more?
I don't
Oh,
have
all right. It's a significant amount, though. I mean, you've got a big, big deck there.
that. It's a nice area. though.
Yeah,
They got plenty
it's
of room.
nice,
That's it, all
big
within
deck,
the yard.
yeah.
It's there.
Yeah.
This one's fine.
Any other questions? I asked if anybody out there, I already asked, okay, I done. All right. Anybody want to give me a motion to close the hearing? I have a motion to close the hearing. I have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, the hearing is closed.
Build it.
Right.
Okay, motion to approve with the stipulation that any changes to the driveway would have to be refiled with us,
Refiled?
or
Refiled,
refiled with us. And that's it, right?
yes.
And the usual and customary.
I'm sorry, standard conditions.
Standard conditions, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Second.
I thank you. I have a motion and I have a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstain. No work until Mr. Bichette gives you your paperwork.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. They got some big dogs. They left bombs all over the yard and I found them.
Oh, gee.
All right, we're back to continued hearings. Here you go. Oh, we only have one left. William Evans, Big Block Trust. Anybody here for that? No. Then I'll take a motion to continue it until 11:20.
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
I have a motion, I heard a second. It's continued until November 20th. All right, that's a continued pile.
There's a lot of people left and nothing on the docket.
I know. We now, oh, there's something coming.
no enforcement orders? I've been quiet. Sure, they're still fighting.
All right. Extension request. Is there, want to take something else out of order? Would you prefer to take something out of order?
If you want to do this, that would.
Would anybody have a problem if we took Rita Earl out of order? Because I think most everybody here is for that one, right?
Well, let's get them done.
Okay, well, Mr. Bichette will talk to this one. So I guess you come on down. Okay.
Okay, so Mrs. Earl is here tonight to discuss some issues on two properties that she owns over at Spectacle Pond. One at 93 Glen Charlie Road, and the other one is at 14 Old Woods Road. There's been some work done at 14 Old Woods Road that involved the removal of vegetation along the edge of the pond that was not permitted, the placement of some block along the edge of the pond and the beach, and also the placement of some sand at that location. So I met with the owner there, and she did say that there was some vegetation that did get removed out of that area. On the other property at 93 Glen Charlie Road, there's a dock that's been put in place there, but it's just to the side of 93 Glen Charlie, but still property owned by Mrs. Earl. So we discussed that, and it does not appear that there's any permitting for that I could find. So that's basically the second issue, and in my opinion, if there's no proof of any permitting for that, then that has to be removed. As to the other area, I would suggest that there would need to be some planting done along a portion of that pond edge to account for some of the material that was removed. And so I've asked Mrs. Earl to come here tonight to speak to both those issues. So why don't we start with the pier over by 93 Glen Charlie.
The dock.
Okay, that is actually on 95 Glen
Yeah.
Charlie. That's a co-owned lot.
Right,
And the gentleman is here that owns the lot with us.
okay,
If he can come.
sure.
And speaking to the vine, identify yourself, please.
Mario, excuse me, Mario Delito, and co-owner of 95 Glen Charlie Road. I'm not quite sure what the problem is with the pier, my dock.
Well, did you ever get any approvals to put that in?
Well, that's been in for a number of years. The only thing I've done is maintained it over the years, put new decking on or bracing or whatever.
But if you don't have any formal approval to have put that in the first place, then you can't just put it in. So in other words, people can't just put docks in wherever they would like to. There has to be some formal approval for somebody to do that. I'm not saying you couldn't get it approved, but if that never happened, then you just can't go and put it in. There has to be a formal approval like these other projects that we've been reviewing tonight. So if that hasn't happened, then you should have to remove that and then go through the formal review. So you're claiming you've had that in place for years?
Yes. We've been there for, well, my family, myself, for over 70 years, and the dock, that particular dock is probably, well, it's been maintained over the years, but it's probably 30, 40 years old, parts of it.
And it's been in consistently?
No, going way back, everybody used to take them out in the winter and put them back in the spring till we get into the fall.
Okay.
Now, what I've done in 2017, the posts, they used to have 2x4s in there then holding the pier of the dock in place. So I took them out because they were getting waterlogged and rotted and stuff. And I put 4x4s in and put the dock back.
And none of it was permitted. I did some research for this meeting, and I came up with the assessor's card, and there's a picture of the nice piece of land with a dock in the middle of it, but there's nowhere in this assessor's card are you being charged an assessment for a dock. So the town of Wareham has absolutely no record of any permit being approved or the installation of the dock. I have reported this to the assessor's database, and they're going to come out and take a look at this. The other people in the area that have docks, it's on their assessor's card, and it's included in their tax base. So you, if you haven't already, will be receiving a visit from the assessors to include the dock on your assessment for the property. But that dock right now is totally legal. And we're asking that be removed.
Do you have any information to show that that's been used or in over the years?
Yeah, I can bring some pictures from years ago and...
Well, I guess what I'm asking is other than this year, okay, or this year or last year, how long has it been since that's been in the water?
Is this a trick question here? Or?
No, I'm just trying to get a sense of this. Has this been in every single year you've had this in the water?
Yes, a number. I'd be only, in fairness, only guessing, but I'm going to say we've had a dock there since I was like 10 years old.
I have
At least
pictures.
maybe even longer. I'm 75 now, so... Did I ever get a permit, or my folks ever get a permit? No, not to my knowledge.
Done.
I think,
Oh, yeah, okay, I see that.
So
I can't speak to the grandfathering of that. I can speak to the rebuilding and putting into the 4x4s.
Yeah.
That was a necessary permitting job. You should have come and had that permitted.
I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, the only problem with some of these is you can't say specifically what lot they're coming off of. You know what I mean?
My question is then, what is the grandfathering? I understand some are grandfathered.
Well, I can't,
sorry,
again, I haven't been here long enough to answer that question.
Because I want Mr. Bichette to hear what's being
Okay.
discussed.
Yeah.
But here's the assessor's card, and there is a picture of the dock, and it's not there
It's
at
not
all.
listed,
It's
yeah.
not listed at all.
Okay.
David?
Thank you.
David, am I right in assuming just what,
There was one more, it was, it's until, but this is the lot here, and there's the dock here. if you-
Okay.
This one don't have it either.
Well, there is no dock at this house.
This one, shared dock.
Right.
93, and then
Which
this
one's
is
that?
the tree, and
91.
then this is the
Yep.
lot.
Mm-hmm.
This is, this,
Okay, we'll just pass that around.
That's a good question.
David, what's the goal here? Rita I'm a little bit confused as to what the goal is. What's Rita trying to accomplish?
Well, I don't know that she was trying to accomplish anything necessarily. This was just something that was pointed out, that this pier was not legally permitted. And so we don't find any information that it was, and so therefore, it shouldn't be put in the water unless it goes through the proper permitting channels. Now, other folks do have approvals for piers, and anytime somebody comes in and wants to put a dock in or would like to have a dock, then they have to go through and get that approved by the Conservation Commission. How this occurred and has been potentially used over the years, I can't speak to that. It's just that the town doesn't seem to have any record of this being official, if you will. So all we're saying is go through the proper channels to get it approved. You'll have your permitting for it, and then you can have the dock there. But without that, it's technically not legal, okay? So that's all I have to say on that.
Is this, I'm still a little
Sure.
confused, sorry. Is this that we have the two women they want the dock as well, or they don't want the dock? I mean, is this?
they're co-owners.
Are they, all right, so you're co-owners of the dock? No, you're co-owners of the land,
Right,
not of the dock. The
right.
dock belongs to this gentleman.
That's
So-
right.
So if he goes and he gets approval for his dock, is that going to be a problem for the two women up there, for Rita? I mean, I'm trying to figure out, what are we doing here? We've got one, he's got to go and get a permit to have the dock. We know that. But now, what about the other two?
Well, that's just up to the owners of the land. They have to decide if they want it or not. So the two have to agree and want to have it there, and if they do, then it's fine.
All right,
If they don't, then that's an issue between the two property owners.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, where they're co-owners and then the tax base for the dock is attached to the land,
Yeah,
and
no,
they're
no,
technically
yeah.
co-owners of the dock.
well, yeah, they're the co-owners of the property, so whatever goes on the property, they're both responsible for.
Right.
Yes, that's right.
Unless they have a deal that he'll pay all the taxes and they won't use the dock.
Or maybe they have agreement to both use it.
Maybe.
That's really the only issue with this, is that needed to be sort of addressed, and that's why this has been brought before the commission to hear. Does anybody have any further questions on that part of it from the commission?
So
or
we're
not?
saying the dock must be removed.
Until it gets approved.
Until it gets
It sounds like it's something you take out every year anyway, right?
No,
No,
that's why
it's-
I've got
it's
it set up now,
permanent.
so I don't have to. But what I'm confused on is the grandfathering of the docks. I understand there's one to the right of me that's been grandfathered, and that was moved just this past year.
Well, there's no real grandfathering of docks. They either have permits or they don't. So if a dock has an approval formally, then it can be put in and out, or it can be fixed permanently, or however you want to have it.
I get you. Okay.
So that's what it boils down to.
And your neighbor's assessor's database show that they have a dock and they're being taxed on it. So the town knows that it's there,
Okay.
and yours is nothing.
Nothing?
No, you got a
Something.
picture, I got
No,
a
I
picture,
realize
but
that,
no
I'm not
taxes.
disputing
On,
it. I'm not disputing the.
No
being
big, no
permitted.
big deal. So technically, what we're saying is get a permit for the dock.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How
so
long would that
so-
take?
So that involves filing a notice of intent
Okay.
before us, having a public hearing
So we're
for it.
looking at,
So by the time next season rolls around, you can probably have it all approved and
Legal.
ready to go.
But in the meantime, I gotta take it out.
Yes,
Cold out. Okay, thank you.
yeah.
Then the next point is the revegetation.
At the Old Woods Road
At the old-
site. Do you want to comment on that at all, as far as what took place over at the Old Woods Road site?
Well, the thing of it is, I didn't know, we did remove vegetation, but I wasn't aware that I was doing something wrong. I left vegetation down by the water. I thought that going along the water was enough. Yes, I did remove that vegetation going up the property line. I was
Right, up the
unaware that I
property-
was doing something wrong.
Yeah, up the property line and even along the water's edge. So there was some material removed along the water's edge?
It disappears with the waves coming in. Some of it did get uprooted, yes.
Yeah, I don't mean the vegetation in the pond. I'm talking about some of the trees and things that were along the edge where the picture of the stump was being removed.
Oh, the stump.
Yeah,
Okay, that actually wasn't along the edge, it was further back. Yes, that was removed. The intentions were that we were going to, there was a stump there, and we were going to just take off as much as we could and then cover it up. But we had a neighbor that volunteered to come and take the whole stump out. He brought over his tools and he did the removal.
He was trying to be a nice guy.
corner, where is now like a beach there. So on that,
Again,
on that particular issue, I think maybe it might be good for some members to see it for yourselves before we decide anything as to what might have to happen there.
That's 14 Old Woods.
Yes.
All right. So we know.
We could, come back and discuss this once members have had a chance to look at that.
Can some of you get down there before before 2 weeks? What's going on? Oh. Okay. So you're going to be filing a permit for the dock. You're going to remove the dock now. And we as committee members are going to look at 14 Old Woods for the disturbance of the land.
okay.
Am I hearing that right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Was a tree.
We'll be hearing from you.
Okay.
All right.
It's back to the agenda extension request for David
Dean.
Goldstein. Thank you. I had to put the glasses on. Yes, Goldstein. 2683 Cranberry Highway. Anybody here for that?
That's something I can just discuss. That was just a request for an extension, for an order of conditions for a septic upgrade. They haven't gotten around to doing that yet. So they're requesting a one-year extension on their order of conditions.
So moved.
I have a motion for a one-year
Second.
extension. I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstain. We have a one-year extension has been approved.
Next.
Next.
Let me pass that around first.
Did you want something?
No, we're just letting them go out first.
Oh, totally, totally understand.
Wait,
Okay.
you did them a favor? They mad at you?
Oh, yeah, yeah, they made our life living hell.
Oh, boy.
All right,
Okay.
but I can see why you're waiting.
Have
We
a
have
seat.
certification of compliances.
But, thanks for everything, the whole committee and everybody, I appreciate everything you did. And thank you for being fair about everything. I appreciate all of it. I won't be here probably for the next meeting, so I think everything, you guys will take care of it, because, you know, it was
Thank
way
you.
worse than what I did, but what are you gonna do? And a lot of that was a lot of lies, even
I did.
the other man, Doc wasn't there. Have a good night.
Okay,
Night.
thank you.
Certification of compliances.
Picture of the stump was, he was in the picture.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he's the neighbor doing the,
He's the one who yanked it out of the ground.
Yeah.
yes. And he's the one that yanked his own lawn out of the ground,
Yeah, he's
sorry.
the one that did the hot tub and the whole bit. Yeah.
Brilliant.
So
Okay.
they're just
I meant to tell him, there's a
yeah.
couple houses up, there's a cottage for sale, it's got more land to it.
I mean, it's got 16 feet of water frontage, I mean, it's just, okay.
All right, which one are we on?
She left it in the
Dorothy,
Schnetzer.
31 Priscilla Ave,
Okay.
certification of compliance.
Yeah, that was for the reconstruction of a house, a tear down and rebuild, and that has been completed according to the order, so I'd recommend that certificate of compliance.
So moved.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstain. Okey dokey. Sorry, that okey dokey, sorry.
What's wrong with okey dokey? I saw that movie.
All right, here we go. Signatures, please. Next one, 77 Greengate Lane. Why does that ring a bell?
Yeah, it does.
Well,
Is that the one that cleared the whole hill?
Yes, but this is not to do with that. This
Oh.
was to do with another project that we approved there for an addition.
The deck.
Whose house was that?
That was the two brothers, the Franklins.
Oh, the Franklin boys.
Yeah. This one here, I did not get a chance to go and review formally, so I'd like to have a chance to do that because there was something on the plan that was not really shown on the original plan, so I just want to see what that involves.
Okay, then we'll hold it.
Yeah.
The next thing is Wareham,
Andy, that's the addition that you're
Yes.
talking about? And then they had a septic put in, but before that, the Franklin, both houses were supposed to put in, replant that whole hill.
Yes, which they did do, yes.
They didn't live though, unfortunately.
Well, they did go back a couple times and redo it. It's, they had a consultant who really was good about knowing how to deal with coastal bank restoration and so forth.
They had that.
And, yeah, it's certainly not like it was before they cleared it, obviously. I mean, the
but
trees were
nature's come along and
30, 40-foot tall trees that they cleared out of there, so this was long before your time.
Always wanted to
here,
see what
but
those
that was a
cones
big
were.
violation, a significant
Want to see
violation.
what?
Oh, those cones, those big cones where they put them big 20-foot trees? Always wanted to see one work.
next on the topic is Wareham Congress. We've been asked whether or not he came before us and did a presentation, and whether or not we want to be part of this Wareham Congress, which is an attempt to put some permitting boards together to talk about what's happening and where we're going and something like that. So whether or not you would like to participate as a Conservation Commission. And I would recommend that we do, and ask that the chair be a representative on the Wareham Congress.
I agree with that. I think it's a good idea, but whether it'll work or not, I don't know.
I
I
don't
think
know,
it's
but
But
it's a
yeah, I
good
think you got a
idea.
good suggestion.
Oh, you
a good
try.
idea. How often do they meet?
we have no idea if the other permitting boards will come online.
It hasn't been formally
We're just asked to see
put together yet. It's still in the process, so.
if it does, would we participate? And I'm hearing yes.
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 Okay. Fines for violations. I sent it out today. Did anybody not get the email?
I haven't even
sent it
looked
out
at my
late.
computer yet today.
I put it in everybody's mail anyway, so everybody has it.
Okay.
That was in last week's mail, wasn't it?
No, that was last
meeting?
week. This is a brand-new one I just put out this afternoon.
The one in last meetings was the draft that I created,
Yep.
and then Sandy has sort of her own version of her thoughts on it, and I think the board now can just kick these ideas around and decide how we want to
Yeah.
deal with it.
I don't have it.
Okay, can I ask a
Oh,
question?
it was in last week's.
No, he has the new one in this week's mail.
I didn't find one in,
I didn't find one in this week.
This is the new draft?
no.
Starts out
No, that's the one
fines
from-
on
that's the one
top.
from 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember that. I just don't have this, the new one.
So the
Swore I
new
put
one
it in
is in the
everybody's mail.
email.
Is it on the computer?
Yeah, I sent it well.
Okay. No, I'll check the computer. I've been very busy at the cemetery, so I haven't had
Cindy, you have a question?
time to look at my
Yeah,
computer
wait a
yet.
second.
Yeah.
I didn't find it in my folder either. Well, I sent it out late in the afternoon.
Yeah.
I had a lot of other things pending, and it just,
I'll look at it. Why don't we hold off and look at
okay.
it? and go
So
from there.
what you find in my take on it is that we base fines on where they did the disturbance.
Right.
This is a version, this is
Right,
Sandy's
and
version.
there doesn't seem to be any, home and versus commercial and small scale
Well,
versus large.
Yeah, because I don't know where you're gonna draw the line between small,
Yeah,
medium,
no, I
and large.
like this one better.
So if
I
this
like it
one's-
without those.
I'm sure there's other conditions, if I say buffer to wetlands, I mean,
I like that.
I didn't put it in here, so
What's that?
it talks about
Yeah.
wetlands, it talks about 100 foot from the edge of the wetlands or 200 feet from a river frontage. It talks about the no work 30 and 50 foot, work done in wetlands and not work, no
Yeah,
work
so I
area.
didn't, so explain that first $300. Any work done in wetlands or
The
what?
no work area. the
Okay.
30 or
Not
50.
work, you just cross off
I
that.
30 or
know.
50 foot,
Not
yeah.
as,
He
it's,
did
it's,
say correct the spelling, so that was clarified.
so I figured if anybody did any work within the wetlands or within the 30 or 50 foot no work zone, they get a $300 fine plus full restoration.
Right, I'm all for that.
Yeah.
The
Even,
second,
even if it's like some real minor thing?
I don't care.
Okay.
It's
no, that's good.
wetlands.
If it's within that, yeah, I suppose within that, we gotta set some sort of precedent. because
Now,
I'm
and
trying,
one-
you
yeah.
know, I know with my fines lately, I've been kind of lenient.
So
but
one of the
I'm trying to
things,
be
yeah.
nice, but
I
we gotta have a
said, yeah,
guideline.
and all fines are both to the landowner and the contractor, so they both get hit with the fines.
They
I'm not-
both get
Can we
two,
do
so
that?
2 fines are,
Yeah, one for
assessed?
each, one for the landowner and one for the contractor.
Oh, I'm in favor of that.
Yeah,
Because the contractor,
Can't, contractors always get,
Contractors were
they skate, and the homeowner gets nailed.
yeah, no, I think.
I didn't know we could charge both of them.
well, we are. And when I talk about violations,
Just doubles my
they took
fine.
down 2 trees, that's 2 violations. So it isn't just the work area, it's the type of work being done. So if they do 2 bad things, then we charge them for 2 bad fines. And
Right.
So that if any work is done in the flood zone or 100-foot edge of the wetlands or 200 for riverfront that had been permitted,
It would have been.
that would have been permitted, is a $200 fine. If it wouldn't have been permitted, it's a $300 fine plus full restoration.
Yep.
Then a $200 fine for starting any approved work prior to required on-site
okay, I
inspection.
have a question, what exactly, I mean, I know that I'm on this board, but I might as well ask the question. Once somebody gets an approval for the house to be done, do they then have to have David come down again?
Yes, so one of our standard conditions is that they notify me to come and inspect their hay bales to make sure they're in and they're in the right place before they start doing the work. So that is one of our conditions, that we have that pre-construction meeting. And we do get that from time to time. I just drive by an area and I see the project's already going on, and I know they never called me to go look at anything.
Which did you just went to an on-site? Toby Homestead.
Yeah, I was just there, yeah,
Here,
this
they
week.
came, they called him. He came and did an inspection and said, fine. But if they had started the work without calling him like they're supposed to, they would have had a fine.
The one with the major wall situation, that project started with no inspection. That was going on for like 2 weeks before I even knew it was started. Until somebody called me and said, hey, did you know this project was going on? I was like, no.
So
So that one started off bad right from the start.
the next two is certification of compliance. If they fail to comply with the NOI plans, $300 fine. If if we give them the certification of compliance and they just did a few boo-boos, $100 fine. I mean, that's just, think about it, folks, as to what you want to do, because I'm tired of people,
Stuffing it down our throats.
yeah, coming to us after, oh, I didn't know. Well, guess what? You don't know, it's gonna cost you. Not only the homeowner, the landowner, but the contractor. Now, what I'm not sure about to do is how to handle the per-day thing.
What was that?
I don't know how to handle the per day. Do we charge them their fine per day between the notification until they're corrected? I don't know. That, I have a tough time.
That's a tough one. I mean,
That
it's sort of
one-
like the wall. I mean, they could work on that wall for 3 months.
Yeah, but they've
to get
started
it.
working
Right,
on
but
it.
but if they're attempting to fix the wall, there's a different story. But if they turn around and David says, okay, you have to do this, or the board says, you have to fix this, and they just sit back and say, I'll wait till they forget about it. Now you turn around from the time it was filed, and then you.
Well, I think on the per day thing, what we've done in the past and what I think is probably the best way to do it and probably the most legally defensible way to do it is if they come in for an enforcement and the board says, okay, you need to get this done within 60 days, okay? If 60 comes around and they haven't gotten it done, then each day after that can be a fine per day until they get it fixed.
But it
We've
falls
done it-
upon
we've
us
done
to
it
put a
and it's
time limit
worked.
on it.
Right.
Yes.
So that way, if it does get to a situation where you end up in court, you can say, listen, we gave the guy this many days to get it fixed, he didn't, so after that, we started fining him by the day.
Right.
And-
Right.
But if you, from day one, when he first walks in, you say, okay, you got 30 days to fix this, and we're gonna fine you every one of those 30 days along the way, the court may not back you up on that, you know?
Yeah, that's fine.
Because they might say, you didn't give the guy a chance to fix it, you know?
Right?
Right.
Okay, so we'll talk about this next time we have another meeting. Also in your.
I'm good with that.
Okay. Also in your mail, late this afternoon, I sent out a contact list.
Yep.
So please take a look at it online and let me know if I've done,
Mine's right.
yours are good?
Yep.
Yay. If you want to change anything on it or whatever,
Wrong.
what's wrong?
3 Summer Street.
No, okay. West Wareham?
No, Wareham.
That's
Very
behind
Everything
Perry's
else
Ice
is right.
Cream.
Yeah, behind Perry's. Sunny,
Okay,
Sadie,
so I
Sunny
mean,
Acres.
it's, the last, what I had here was ancient.
Yeah, well, that's what it
I
was.
figured-
My list was that for a long time, and I thought I
It's in your-
changed
It's
it.
in your mail.
It's not in my mail. Maybe on the computer, but it's not in my mail.
Okay, 45 Edgewater
Yeah,
Way.
that I did not put in the mail, because I got that late.
Okay.
I didn't really think that it was gonna get.
Okay. I know, that was late.
Phone number's right, though.
All right, I think we had a site at 117 Glen Charlie Road, and they wanted their tree down because it's leaning. Mr. Pichette asked me to take a look at it, so, every tree in the area is leaning.
Yeah, you know, though, some are pretty close to houses. I don't know if this one is or not.
Well, I have a picture.
Yeah, the two near the house I thought were okay to take down, but this one, which is close to the beach area, isn't leaning towards the house, and so I was gonna say not to take that one down.
So I've crossed off, I put an X through the two that is away from the water, close to the house. Lost a big limb at the last storm. So Davis said those could be taken down, but I'm not really ready to take the one along the beach area. All the other
Not the
trees.
one on the beach, the one behind the blue.
Is that
thing.
the house
Right
on,
here.
over by,
What,
river?
this one on the beach?
No, that's someone else's.
No, not
That's
that
somebody
one.
else's.
That's
That's,
here, that's
okay,
somebody
that's a
else's.
single, okay.
So that's this one
Oh, okay.
with a different view.
All right.
So, I mean, to me, his concern was that it's leaning, I have children playing on the beach, but if it's a big storm,
is
you're not gonna
leaning
have
that
children
way. It's a
playing on
pretty
the
tall
beach.
tree,
I mean, it's,
Is it
but
a
all the
double?
other trees in the area are leaning
double
because
one,
of the way it is
he
to the
said
sun or the
that one can
wind or
go.
whatever it is, but I didn't find the
This
tree
one is
Yeah.
this one
in
here.
bad shape. I mean, so I have no problem
It's- yeah,
taking
that
the
looks a
two
lot straighter
down
than
by
the
the
other one. It
house
is
where they've
leaning a little
lost some
bit, but I
big
mean,
limbs
it's not-
recently. But
Is that tree healthy, David?
it looks good.
Yeah, I thought it was not in bad condition. I mean,
Well,
you
if it's
can
not
find,
rotted.
you can find a little bit of damage on any tree. if you
Okay.
Any
really
tree,
wanna.
yeah.
Pretty good. They got a
Expect
tap.
So, if anybody's, I'll leave that up, if you want to.
Tell him
have
take the
them-
double one down, leave the other one alone.
And if he wants to take the other one
That's the
down, he has
deal.
to come before us with an RDA.
Yep.
All right,
That's the
so
deal.
if somebody's willing, is there anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah, I have a question again.
Yes.
Sure.
All right, so these trees are within 100 feet of the river,
Of the pond.
of the pond,
Yeah.
okay.
And we have in a previous meeting, given Mr. Burchett permission to make a decision on his own on tree removal that didn't always have to come before us.
Yeah, because what's happening a lot of times, I don't know if it's in this case, but what's happening a lot of times, the insurance companies
Oh, yeah.
are saying, you have to take it down.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. So, we're gonna run into that more than we want to, I'm sure. But David has the authority to make the final decision without coming before us and bother, you know.
Okay? Magic words.
So motion to
David
adjourn.
Smith.
Oh, okay.
I have a motion. I have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I have a second. We're closed at 8:05. Thank you, Mr. White.